Hey everyone, welcome to the Roundtable with Vienna Whyte, Season 1, Episode 45. I'm your host, Millie Rouge from the band Vienna Whyte here in Edmonton, Canada. This Roundtable is a Red music production. Thank you all for tuning into the show this afternoon. I'd like to introduce you to our guests who are on our show today. To start it off, we have Layne Elizabeth from Denton, Texas.
Hi.
And we have the lovely guest coming back, Marissa Karpiak from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Hello.
I say the province and the country because I just feel like people might not know where Edmonton, Alberta is. So just to clarify. So my first question for today is, how's everyone's day been going so far? Starting off real simple.
I woke up with just enough time for me to make coffee and get ready. So my day just started.
That's awesome.
Was watching Gossip Girl really late last night, I'm not going to lie. So
that's amazing. I haven't actually started that series yet. I've put it on my list on Netflix. I was like, this is a quarantine watch. But I'm trying to get through Grey's Anatomy, which I'm still like 10 seasons in, and there's 16 seasons. So I'm like,
oh my gosh.
I got a little ways to go. How about you, Marissa?
Yeah, my morning's good. We normally film our morning brews right before this. So like Millie and I just had a really nice conversation before this started. We were reviewing Carly Rae Jepsen's new album. I don't know if you've heard that album yet, Layne.
Mm-mm.
Go listen to it. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super fun. So yeah, basically the same thing. I woke up, had a shower, had coffee. This is my second cup today. So you know, that's just how my heart rolls with coffee. It just needs it. So
I try to only drink 1 cup a day because if I have 2, I am just like buzzing. And I don't get how some people can drink like 3 to 4 cups a day and they're fine. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine my body on 3 to 4 cups of coffee. Marissa just sips in the corner. Awesome.
No comment.
Sips tea. So I kind of wanted to talk about really quickly before we actually get started with our topic of the day today. I want to chat about the musical journeys you've both had. And I know Marissa's kind of given us a little look into it, but Layne, I want to start with you. Can you kind of tell us how your musical journeys came to be and to where you are now? Can you just tell us a little bit more about it?
Well, for me, I'm a Christian, and a lot of my musical journey is really tied to that because I wasn't always like really a Christian, even though I grew up in a Christian family. And I found my faith through music. I actually used to have mega stage fright, and like I wouldn't even hum in the car in front of anyone. I was like going to be a psychologist or something. And then I was struggling a lot with like my mental health and depression for a while, and it was through someone offered me like, hey, because they knew I liked to sing, but they didn't know I wouldn't sing. I don't know if that makes any sense. But it was like my mom's vocal coach that she had, because we got our vocal lessons for Christmas one year, and she was like, oh, I'm doing this little showcase like at a place called the Profit Bar, which is kind of funny because it goes with my story. But so I just said yes for some reason, which was very out of character for me, and I did like 3 little songs, and it just like I had a moment up there, and it was like I became a different person when I stepped off the stage, and it was like I wasn't struggling with all that, like my depression like was never the same as it had been at that point, and I knew that was what I wanted to do. It was like I found purpose in that moment. So ever since that, I've just been going hard, and yeah.
Making it work. That's awesome. I love that. That's awesome to hear. You had such a very cool journey and a cool kind of start to your career. So that's really inspiring to hear. Now, Marissa, I know I've heard quite a bit about what you kind of do as music, but can you kind of tell us, Layne kind of inspired me to hear this. Can you kind of tell us that first moment you had of like where you knew this was kind of your path and what you want to do for the next 10 years of your life or whatnot?
Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know or who have seen a bunch of roundtables or Instagram lives before, I'm Marissa, the other half of Vienna Whyte. Yes. And so, yeah, my whole journey kind of started, I started singing when I was a kid. So, you know, just kind of here and there. I didn't like my family hearing me. It was really terrifying. So like the whole stage anxiety thing, I get it. Like I've been there so many times before. I had like a crippling fear of singing in front of anybody just because I didn't want people to hear my voice. And then my mom got me to sing "You Are My Sunshine" because I was the flower girl at my cousin's wedding. So there's actually a picture of me singing it in like my dress, and I'm like, the moment I actually started to sing in front of people was actually in high school, where I auditioned for a one-act play of a one-act version of Across the Universe. And so from there, this is like a long story, but the short version is CTS teacher saw me sing. He was like, hey, sing at school assemblies. Band teacher saw me, was like, hey, sing with the band. And then afterwards was like, hey, you should audition for this music school thing. And so for me, when I got into music school, that was the start of me being like, okay, this is something that I can do as a tangible career. I'm good at it. I was good enough to get into this university. So that was the just kind of boost that I needed to just really solidify that decision for me, because I'd always wanted to sing and I thought I was going to be a musical theater person. I still am, to be honest. But yeah, that was just kind of the moment that I started to really take music seriously, was in university. And when I left university, that was when I really started to really dive into my career. And, you know, next things next, and all these things happen. And now I'm in Vienna Whyte with you. Yes. And it's fun.
And it's fun. Yes, we have a good time. Well, thank you both so much for kind of sharing into your lives. It's really cool to hear different perspectives of every artist. Every time I talk to someone on this roundtable, it's always so cool just to hear like their come up story, because everyone seems to be so different and everyone gets inspired by so many cool different things. So it's awesome to hear. So our topic of the day is the day in the life of a singer-songwriter. Now I know Layne's a singer-songwriter. Marissa, when you went under Marissa Karpiak or Marissa K, you were doing a lot of singer-songwriter genre music. So I really want to kind of start it off with just asking they seem like very basic questions, but I think they can lead to some great conversation. So for our audience who has never heard you before, try and describe your sound in 4 to 5 words. Now, Marissa, you could probably do this with Vienna Whyte if you want. And I'll give you guys a minute, because I feel like that's difficult to think of 4 words to really capture your sound. So try and think of 4 to 5 words of what your sound is like.
Ooh, I think I have mine.
Got it? Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah. I would say college girl coffee shop.
Hey, that
would be a good describer.
I love that. There's like alliteration in there.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, because every like concert I've been to, any artist that's really similar to me, it's always at a coffee shop, and it's all college girls there, and who drag along their boyfriends, and
they've got their like scrunchies on their wrist.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of my crowd, so I'll go with that.
That's a friendly crowd.
Shout out to the Instagram boyfriends. Y'all are killing it.
I've definitely dragged my boyfriend to a few concerts.
You kind of just have to. Marissa, do you need more time for your 4 to 5 words?
Actually, you know what? Because this is both of us, I feel like, because we're both in the same band, I'll give 2 words, and I want you to give 2 words.
You can put the questioner
I'm turning this around on you, okay?
I'm the interviewer. All right.
I'm allowed to.
I got it.
Okay, so my first word is like modern, I'd say.
Okay. Modern electronic. I'm just throwing a wrench at you.
Boppy. I don't know if that's a word. Boppy.
Okay. We can make it a word.
Modern electronic boppy.
And then I want to say neon. I know that's such a stupid word, but I just
modern electronic boppy neon. Yes.
When I think of neon, I think of us. So we
just came up with our first album name right here, right now. So.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. Yeah, no. And do you kind of want to describe, Marissa, why you chose those words? And I mean, I know I helped you, but
yeah, but well, I think because we've had this discussion so many times, you and I, just on our own, but modern, just because we want to, I think when we sat down and we talked about the kind of music we wanted to make as a band, we went through so many different genres, and we're like, well, what kind of speaks the most to us right now, and what do we both want to explore? Because as you said before, I was a singer-songwriter. We were both singer-songwriters before we decided to start this band together and work together. So a lot of the stuff that I was kind of used to was like the piano-based Sarah Bareilles style stuff. But with Vienna Whyte, I wanted to explore some of the other kind of genres that I was kind of too scared to do by myself. because I was like, oh, that would be so cool if I could be like a pop artist. I think that'd be really neat to explore that genre. So it's less scary to do it with somebody else. So I think modern kind of comes from that realm of just like trying to be a little bit more in the now, and trying to keep up with trends in the now and just kind of see what we could come up with that's new. And what was it? Modern, electronic. Yeah, electronic is a huge thing because we both, I really, really love when producers come up with really cool tracks. So the electronic part of it, I think, is, you know, we play acoustic instruments, you and I, but the electronic part comes from, again, I think like the pop realm where we try to come up with songs that aren't necessarily with acoustic instruments, that we kind of want a little bit more of that that producer pop sound. Boppy, just because we're both very fun, and at least I think
everyone
loves
we think we're fun,
but yeah, and everyone loves a good bop. And I think that, I mean, anytime I hear a pop song, I want to make sure that I can dance to it. So that's kind of like a huge thing for us, is like, yes, we want to make some introspective songs, but for the most part, it's like we want some bops. That's just kind of like how we are. We're both very bubbly and dancey. And then neon, just because I feel like that just is in itself just describes us.
I think it describes the aesthetic. You know how every artist has an aesthetic. When I was looking on your Instagram, Layne, actually, you had this really like soft pastel-y kind of like theme, and I really appreciated that. I was like, her Instagram is really cool. So I can't keep up with my Instagram aesthetic, but I try.
I can never decide on Instagram themes. There's so many, like, I love all the aesthetics. Like every week I make a new Pinterest board of like a new Instagram theme I can use.
I know, it's fun. It's actually fun, but it's a lot to keep up with, I think, for sure.
Especially you kind of have to stick with one brand as an artist, which is hard. I don't know if you know Enneagram at all. Do you know Enneagram?
Sounds familiar.
Okay, it's like a personality test thing. It's really fun. It's been popular lately, but I'm a 7, and if you don't know, they're like the ones who want to try everything.
You're like the embodiment of what that Shakira song is from Zootopia. She's like, I want to try everything.
Wait, I didn't even realize that was a Shakira song.
I think it's a Shakira song.
I don't even know that song, first of all.
I've watched Zootopia like once a long time ago.
Yeah. This is what happens when you have like young students who are like, I want to sing this song. And you're like, what is this song? But yeah, no, it's if you listen to it, it's going to get stuck in your head. So
that's fair. So my next question is, I mean, similar in a sense, but if I were to turn on your Spotify right now, which artist would come up as your top 5 most listened to artists? So again, this is kind of a challenging question to think off the top of your head. So
that is, I have to like open my Spotify to see exactly what would come up.
Top 5 or maybe top 3 if it's too difficult.
Well, I think you could probably guess in terms of my own Spotify, my personal Spotify. Yeah,
your personal Spotify.
You know exactly who would come up first, and that's Sarah Bareilles, my girl.
My girl. Sarah.
But lately I've been getting into a lot of like indie artists. So like it's not always just one artist that I listen to. Like I have a whole bunch of playlists. Like I have a playlist that I made called, this is pretty good. And then I just like find random songs and I just put that in there. So I can't honestly say what my top 3 artists would be because they're always a different person every single song. So that's really tough to say. But I'd say like my number 1 would probably be Sarah Bareilles. I don't know who my other 2 would be.
For sure. How about you, Layne? Do you have kind of top 5 or top 3?
I know Ben Rector and the band Camino would be up there. I don't know if you know them. They're awesome. I love them so much. And maybe John Mayer would be up there somewhere.
Yeah.
I was really embarrassed when I got my like Spotify
the wrap up
shows
thing.
You what you listen to, because I was my own top artist and like I was just so embarrassed to like I wanted to post it on Instagram, but like I was kind of embarrassed that it was me.
You're like, I'm the biggest fan.
That's a bad thing though. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think artists should listen to their own music. It's not like a weird thing, and I feel like there's such a weird like I don't want to say stigma around it, but stigma where people are like, you listen to your own songs, like God, narcissist. And you're like, no, I made this thing why would I not
Yeah, you
listen to
put
the thing that
all
I
your
made?
favorite musical things into
Yeah.
one song, so obviously it's probably gonna be one of your favorites.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're allowed to like the thing that you make. You don't always have to be that tortured artist who's like, nothing I make is good.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And then you like never listen to it again. I don't understand artists who like can't listen to their own music, because I'm
Or
like,
watch
why'd
their
you
own
make it then?
films. I've heard that
Yeah.
too with
Mm.
actors.
I'm like,
Like,
why did you do it then if you can't listen to it, you know?
right? I heard
Yeah.
that Monica from Friends never watched the episodes after she was in them. So during quarantine, apparently she's been like watching Friends to kind of like
That's
everything.
crazy.
Right? I'm like, that's so long ago that you were in those shows and you're just
Yeah.
doing it now. Like, but I mean, I guess she's hustling, she's busy, but still, like, yeah, crazy. But I mean, I also kind of can agree, because I kind of hate watching myself back when I need to, like if it's a video performance, or like I just kind of, it's kind of cringy to me. So
Morning Brew.
I could kind of see that why maybe that's they feel that way.
Yeah, but you gotta know how cringy it is, like for the other
just
person
in
to
case
watch.
you're being really cringy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Sometimes you gotta look back and just you gotta cringe in order to not cringe. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my next question is, if you could open up for any other artist or singer-songwriter or band, who would you want to open up for?
Ooh. That's a tough question.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Rector or John Mayer again for me.
Yeah. Did you recently go to the John Mayer like concert that he put on not too long ago?
I didn't.
Because I'm curious to know what kind of openers he would have as like.
Yeah, I've never seen him live. I'm excited for the fall because everyone's tours were all canceled, and
Right.
I'm sure like when everything starts opening back up, it'll be concert season and everyone will be going on tour all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. They got to make their money.
The floodgates are gonna open 100%.
Yeah.
I did see John Mayer live in concert, and I don't remember if he even had an opener when he came to Edmonton. Yeah, I don't remember. I honestly don't. It was a very long time ago. Or not that long, I guess, but it was a couple years ago. But yeah, I don't even remember him having an opener at that show. Maybe he did. Actually, no, maybe he did. But it was like very like, yeah, singer-songwriter type. Yeah, singer-songwriter type people, like similar to John Mayer, I'd say. But yeah, that'd be cool to open for John Mayer. I don't know if we would work opening for John Mayer. But I think opening for a band, like for us specifically, I think opening for a band like Layne would be cool. Just because like they're very boppy and you know, poppy.
In neon.
Yeah, exactly. Or neon trees. But anyway. Or like, I don't know, someone like Taylor Swift or Carly Rae Jepsen would be cool if we could open for them. I feel like we'd have a better chance opening for Taylor Swift if we just wrote one really good song and just got her to share it.
And I'd be like, I met you, Taylor. Don't you remember me? Come on, put me on your tour.
She's like, you're like at her house and you're like banging on her door. You're like, let it take us on tour. And she's like, this person needs to get out of my life.
This person is a stalker. Yeah, no, she's been through it. So I don't think we want to do that to her. I don't know if I was telling you the story, but she on one of our Instagram live streams, Marissa gave me a challenge to write a song about meeting Taylor Swift, like, because I had met her in 2013 or something at one of her concerts. But and I was writing this song about how I was in love with Taylor Swift, but it was like not really a stalker song, but kind of a stalker song. But I just thought it was interesting because she actually had a man that came into her apartment and slept in her bed. And then they found out a little bit later that he had got into her apartment. I don't think she was there or anything, but like, and her dad, I think, like came in and like beat the crap out of this dude. But like, it's scary. Like, as much as we're like, I would love to be a famous singer-songwriter, it's pretty scary that the people out there and like what can happen to, like, there was that one YouTuber, I don't know if you guys remember her. I can't remember her name, which is really terrible, but she got shot at one of her concerts.
Oh yeah.
Christina, or I know who you're talking
Christina
about.
something. Yeah.
Which, and she wasn't even like that crazy of a level of fame yet, but she still had that like effect on people, like YouTube fame, I guess, where people were like, it's wild.
People are crazy. And like, yes, we joke about that kind of stuff, but like in reality, it's terrifying. And I can't even imagine what going through that must be like.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to depress the mood, I just it came in my mind. So what do you find more challenging? The songwriting aspect or the performing? And if either or, why is either one more challenging for you?
It's a tough one. I'd say for me,
Probably performing.
Oh, sorry. No, Layne, you go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I was thinking probably performing just because I don't know. They're both kind of equal. There's like some aspects of performing that are really easy and some that are hard, and the same with songwriting, but maybe I lean a little more towards the songwriting side. Because it's just more of my passion.
Right.
Yeah. Is the performing part, is that like tied to your performance anxiety that you had for a while?
Not really anymore. It's just like I just enjoy the songwriting aspect of it more. It's just more, I get to do more creativity with that.
Well, I guess you kind of get to take your own time with that too. Like there's really no deadline for songwriting. With sometimes performing, you can be like, oh my gosh, I have 3 weeks to learn this song or whatever, right? Like that's how I feel sometimes, at least.
Yeah. And like also if I'm doing like a really long set, it can be very tiring.
Oh yeah.
Songwriting, you can just stop whenever you're like, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
totally
that's
agree.
true. 100%, that's true. I'd say for me, it's the opposite actually. I find the songwriting harder just because for me, it's like, I'm very passionate about songwriting, but for me, it's always like, I want to make sure that the song is like really good and really perfect, saying exactly what I want to say. And sometimes I find that's really hard. Whereas with performing, that's just something I do very naturally because I've been doing it for my entire life. So for me, like I'm very comfortable on a stage. Like if you tell me that I had to go perform tomorrow, I'd be like, okay, sure. Just like give me a couple hours to practice. Like I'll be okay. But
the time and place, I'll be there.
Yeah, basically like I'll get nervous. Sure. But, yeah, for me, I'm more comfortable on stage than I am sitting down in a room with other people and writing, just because I'm like, I feel so vulnerable.
Now, my question for you, Marissa, actually, you brought up a good question in my head. When you're performing, do you get nervous like the day before, or do you get nervous like right before you're going on stage? Because I know for myself, it's like an hour before.
Yeah, I get nervous like leading up to it for sure.
Okay.
I get not so much the day before, but like if it's the day of or like a couple hours before.
Yeah.
If I don't think about it, I'm fine. But like if I sit down and think about it too much, it's like that feeling in your stomach and it goes and it like comes up from your stomach and then you just get this wave of anxiety. So yeah, for me, the waiting right before is always the hardest part for me. But yeah, once I'm on stage, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel, Layne, about that? Do you feel like you're nervous for like a week before, or is it like right before you're kind of walking on stage, you're like, whew, this is a little bit nerve-wracking?
I don't really get nervous, but also I haven't really done that many like huge shows. Most of them are just like, casual coffee shop settings. So I don't know. Sometimes I'll get nervous like if I know like right before I know I'm about to do like a song that's like at the top of my range. I'm like, how is this gonna go?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we all kind of feel that sometimes when we're singing Beyonce songs and we're like, oh boy, come on, give me the strength. Now, Marissa, actually, that leads me to another question I wanted to ask. Do you feel more nervous when you're playing like coffee shop style shows? I know you've played quite a few of those. Or do you feel more nervous if it's like a bigger, like a wedding, or like there's like more people in the crowd, or like a bar type setting? What do you think you would feel more nervous in?
It's funny. As soon as you said a big arena, I got a wave of like, so that I think that answers your question.
There you go.
It used to be the opposite. I used to get more scared of like small settings because I didn't like being able to see people, but I guess it depends on what context I'm performing. If I'm dancing in front of a giant crowd is fine. But if I'm performing and if I'm singing in front of a giant crowd, that's when I get really really nervous, just because it's more eyes on me. Yeah, that would be it. The coffee shops, I feel a little bit more comfortable because I'm like, we're all on the same level, quite literally. So it's different when it's like you're on a stage and everyone is staring at you. You're like,
you're the only thing to look at.
The actual most nerve-wracking thing is being in a studio recording vocals with just like a few other people watching. That just
That's
makes
true.
me so uncomfortable. And mic checking. Mic checking makes me nervous. I don't know why.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned the studio part too,
no.
because like
Frozen. Okay.
Are we good?
Oh yeah, I think we're
Yeah,
good.
it's better now.
Okay. Well, it's funny because I took a course on this in university. We're doing an intro to recording course. And one of the things that the engineer talked about, he said, when you're recording a vocalist or anybody, do not laugh behind the glass because they will think you're laughing at them. And I was like, oh my God. And it's so true because I remember when I was recording in whatever studio I was in and I would look over and they'd be laughing. I'd be like, oh no, I sound terrible. But it's like really they're just like showing each other memes or something.
Yeah.
Like it's very nerve-wracking. I completely understand that feeling. It's
Mhm.
hard because like there's so much pressure in a studio too. It's like you got to get the take just right.
And they're just hearing like no background tracks or anything. They're just hearing your vocal like come out the other end of the other room. It's just
They're like, we'll just pitch that up, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's the worst when they're like, do you want to come listen to it? And then you go and listen to it. It's just your raw vocals. They turn it way up. You're like, oh.
I know, which is funny that that's a cringy thing to us, but it just really is. That's just how it is.
Oh yeah. Speaking of not wanting to hear yourself. Yeah.
What's the most important thing you want people to know about you, your music, and your craft?
I think for us, well, I feel like we get this across just based on the shows that we do, but I want people to understand that we're just like, we're humans and we like to have fun and we like to joke around and stuff. But the other part of that, what I want people to realize about our music when we do start releasing stuff, is that we also have a lot of depth behind our music, and like there's everything that we do in our music is very intentional. And we're not just writing for the sake of pumping out songs, we're writing for the sake of creativity and artistry. And even though we're a pop duo, I still want that to translate in our music.
Yeah, absolutely. How about yourself, Layne? What do you think you kind of want to say to people with your music?
I don't know. I want people to be able to get to know who I am with my music, because that's my way for me to express myself and my thoughts and opinions on the world. So that's what I kind of use it for, is just for people to get to know me in like a deep poetic way.
Absolutely. I think everyone kind of expresses themselves differently, obviously. Like there's, the art side, there's the math side, there's the just basic intelligence side. So I think it's cool that we all really get to show ourselves in just all these different lights, no matter what there is. Like I know some people are like, oh, I don't really have a hobby, but like everybody has something that they're really good at or they really shine through. So I think it's important to realize that. But
you just reminded me of that one commercial. I don't think you had these in the US growing up, but in Canada we had these commercials that was like, what's your thing? And it would be a bunch of these like little kids saying like,
oh yeah,
I like to make T-Rex sounds. And there's one kid's like, I like bugs. And it's like it was a really weird 90s commercial.
Yeah, I remember that too, actually. Like one of them's like cutting his sister in half. He's like, I'm a magician. You're like, oh.
Oh yeah, it's like, Mom, Aiden cut me in half again. It's a staple of Canadian television.
Yeah. We have some questionable things in our television. What is the hardest part for you when it comes to staying motivated to keep practicing and writing? What is hard about it for you?
ADHD for me, absolutely. It's because you have to be your own boss. And like I am also the type of person who would not want to work for anyone else under their schedule. I don't like schedules and routines and things, but I have to make some sort of schedule or routine for me to be able to function well and get things done. And it's just so hard to also, I don't take medicine for it because I just don't like it. So it makes it a little bit harder. I have to figure out systems that work, but it's just so hard to just stay motivated and on top of things because everything seems so overwhelming. So I have to really break things down. I have my to-do list right here. I have to break it down into really tiny little tasks for me to actually get anything done.
Yeah, being reasonable about your goals is hard. It's hard to just not be like, I want to be a superstar and like try and get that goal done. You have to be very realistic.
And when you're a procrastinator and a perfectionist, it's just
the worst of both worlds.
It doesn't work well.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
I agree with I agree with the to-do list thing for sure. I actually used to have it where this is hanging now, but I had like a whiteboard of my like daily tasks, weekly tasks, and monthly tasks. And I would only allow myself 3 things, because with like me, similar to you, Layne, where it's like you want to get everything done, but it's like it feels like impossible because there's so many tasks that you have to do before you get to the thing. So I would always limit it to 3 things per day. And like I would have one mini section of like 3 little things. So like the 3 little things that I would check off every day is like, okay, the first one is drink some water. Okay, good. I just chugged a glass of water. Second thing is make bed. Okay, got it. Third thing is make sure you exercise today. And then I would check that off. So like those are 3 relatively easy things. But for me, having those things at the beginning of my day helped me feel like I could accomplish the other tasks that I needed to do. Like specifically the ones, I don't know about you, Layne, but for me, sending emails and messages is like super anxiety inducing for me. Yeah. So that's like the hardest thing for me. If all I have to do is copy and paste, I'm fine. But if I actually have to sit down and craft an email or like talk to somebody on the phone, I have to like rehearse what I'm going to say before I do it. So yeah, for me, the hardest thing is getting over what do they call eating the frog, as it were, like doing the hard task at the beginning. So that's and procrastination is a totally other thing too, where you're sitting and you want to get this task done, but you feel like oh, I can't do it now, or I want to do it later, or you tell yourself like, or you do a thing where it's like, I'm going to watch Netflix, but I should be doing this thing. And then you have like this guilt in the back of your head and you're watching Netflix stressfully. But
it's hard for everybody. I think everyone just has to find their system and routines, and just like, I feel like I'm 26 now, so I'm finally starting to like figure my shiz out, but it took a long time in my 20s to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And it sucks that it takes long sometimes, but that's just, you grow from your mistakes if you want to be super cheesy, but you do grow.
Well, it helps to have other people who keep you accountable too.
Exactly. Yeah. Finding those support systems for sure. I have one last question today. And my question is, what advice would you give to someone who wants to become a singer-songwriter? But I want this piece of advice to be 1 sentence only. I like this game of 1 sentence only, or 4 to 5 words. It's fun. So just 1 bold sentence of what advice you would give if someone wants to become a songwriter.
This is so hard.
I feel like I'm a teacher. This is awesome. I'm quizzing my students.
I would say find a mentor.
I love that.
Find a mentor. That's really good.
Yep.
I would say take time crafting your voice, and not like the technical side, but like just in general, your creative voice.
I love that. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for giving that kind of advice. I know it's hard in 1 sentence, but sometimes I think we can get lost in so much advice. So sometimes it's nice to just hone in on 1 key center of it. So thank you guys. That was our last question for the day. We are unfortunately out of time, but we're so lucky to have had you all on today. If you guys are at home watching this roundtable with Vienna Whyte on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button to be notified about our shows. We post 2 shows a day, Monday to Friday, so there's extreme content for you to watch and to love and to absorb. If you want to hear this conversation through podcast form, just search up the Vienna Whyte podcast and you will find us there. Now, before we head out, could I get you all just to say your stage name again and where our audience can find you on social media? Marissa, could you start it off?
I'm Marissa K from the band Vienna Whyte, and you can find me at Marissa K Music or at Vienna Whyte.
Awesome. And Layne.
My name is Layne Elizabeth, and you can find me on Instagram at just Layne Elizabeth Music. That's Layne, or Layne Elizabeth on Spotify. There's another Layne Elizabeth, and she's a different sort of entertainer. So you got to remember the Y.
You sounded very salty, like she's a different entertainer.
Yeah.
No, I love it. That's amazing. Well, thank you all so much. Have a great day, everyone. It was great meeting you all. See you soon.